everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 31, Captain Cook's Hawaiian Holiday. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Thursday edition of the Big Chill Podcast. That's right, we've gone back-to-back days with episodes, so I hope everyone enjoyed our interview with Zealand, the American specialist at Football Manager. It's good to see that Americans are just good at everything, I guess. They can take over weird English video games and dominate them. It doesn't matter, so that's always nice to see. Let's say hi to the boys.
I'm sure.
First,
with
what?
With all respect to Zealand, he's a great producer of Football Manager related content. I don't know if you could describe it that he's dominating the game.
Well, he is dominating the game, Eddie. I can describe it that way.
If only you would learn to be good at democracy.
If only he could dominate.
Seem to have fallen short on that one at the moment.
Yeah. Him and the rest of the U.S. is not good at election manager. different
there is
game,
actually
bad
no. There is
result.
a PC game. There is a PC game called Democracy where you do exactly that. So I'd be interested to see how Americans fare.
Sam, speaking of democracy and politics, you guys have a nice holiday going on right now.
Well, it's not a holiday.
Well, some people consider it a holiday.
What, Guy Fawkes night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a. It's also definitely
Some anarchists consider it a holiday.
It's also
a celebration, but it's not like a national holiday, and equally, it's not. It doesn't exactly lend itself to COVID friendly regulations. So probably, I mean, Sam will know better. But have you heard any fireworks today, Sam?
Quite a few, actually. I can see them around because obviously people may have bought them like the day before or whatever to do their own thing. But for anyone that doesn't know, basically Guy Fawkes night or bonfire night in the UK is when we celebrate the foiling of the gunpowder plot, which was a plot by Catholics to blow up Parliament, essentially. And it was foiled. So we celebrate it every year by burning an effigy of Guy Fawkes on a bonfire and setting off fireworks to imitate the explosion of Parliament, which I find a bit strange.
Why don't they just blow up Parliament?
I think it's actually it's an interesting reflection on the differences between America and the United Kingdom in many ways. Like the biggest celebration in the United States is the 4th of July, a celebration of fundamentally a success on the part of America. Whereas the biggest celebration in England is the celebration of a British person failing at what they were attempting to do.
Actually, it was a bunch of Irish people.
Wait, Guy Fawkes was Irish?
I think they were, but it was like an Irish Catholic plot. Or at least the ringleaders were, I think like Thomas Catesby was one of them, was like the ringleader. But the problem for Britain is we don't have an Independence Day. Just everyone has one from us.
Yeah.
There's not an overly impressive amount to celebrate in this country in terms of like your nation's independence. Because
you're like
we could celebrate
like,
something with Bodicea or something.
What, like kind of like I'm trying to think, like Celtic Day.
Yeah, something to do with defeating the Romans. You know, we could have something like that.
But even for you have like
your
Bastille
argument
Day, you have like the celebration of the Republic.
True.
But we have the Queen's birthday, and she has 2 of them. I think Christmas is probably by a mile the most celebrated time in the UK.
Yeah, because we all know Jesus Christ was British.
He looks it.
Yeah, he does.
He sounded it as well.
Jesus, yeah. Super British name.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Sam, you guys have your Independence Day is like when people always make the argument here where they're like, well, every day is White History Month. It's like every day for you guys is Independence Day.
It's always good to watch people just slowly get away from Britain. That little bit more every year on year. Yeah, Barbados is going to, basically it's still going to be in the Commonwealth, but the Queen is going to stop being the head of state. It sounds like she meant
I like
it.
how you
It was
framed
actually
that.
it was actually the Bayesian government.
Yeah, you
obviously
framed it as
said-
if she decided. She was like, no, you know what? I've had enough of Barbados.
I'm done.
That is what happened. I don't understand how it's been reported anywhere else. But the Queen basically just decided which islands of random historical relevance at some point they were. And she either keeps them or she doesn't. It's like a roulette.
Yeah, it's fair. But no, yeah. What was your question, Frank?
How many countries have Independence Days from the UK? I wonder.
A lot, because there's a lot of islands. So, I mean,
I would say at least 50.
That's amazing.
Honestly, I would go with that just because there's like 5 or 6 just in the Caribbean alone.
Well, here's the question though: is not all of them, even if they achieved independence, will necessarily have, like, the framing. It also depends what you mean, because like they'll have a national day, right? But are you framing that national day as them seeing it as like being liberated or achieving independence, or just the formation of their nation, which is not necessarily the same thing? Like the United States, you've turned it into Independence Day. Like it is very proudly like celebrating your freedom, whereas
freedom
other
from
countries
the alien attack.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God for Will Smith.
But like Canada and Australia, I guess, wouldn't, because Canada and Australia are independent, but they still.
And there's Canada Day, but there's Canada Day, but I don't think Canadians think of that as really. They consider that like Independence Day. Or is that just you as an American, and that's your spin on it? You're like, Canada Day, the day you defeated the British.
No, they kind of think of it as Independence Day. Like you're right. It's not as much as the U.S. where they wear like we've beaten the U.K. whatever times thing. You know, like
wait, do you wear like
t-shirts?
Do you wear like Minutemen?
Let's be clear. Hold on, Sam. Let's be clear. This is a podcast that supports accuracy. Once.
What about 1812?
We burned down the White House and then left. I think it was a success.
Yeah, but we actually ransacked Washington.
And to be perfectly clear, I think a lot of Americans right now would be very happy if we repeated our act of 1812 right about now.
So what I'm looking at here is it says, just a quick Google search. I don't know the validity, but it says 62
You know the validity. Based on what you just said, you know the validity.
Have gained independence from the UK. That doesn't sound very far off. That could be pretty accurate.
50 for like Independence Day celebrations is probably about right.
Yeah, 62. And then it says France has 28.
Losers.
Problem is, isn't there like 240 odd countries? So that represents a quarter of the world that has gained independence from Britain.
They said before 1914, the UK exercised authority over 1/5 of the world's entire population.
What happened? What happened to this country? We used to be so good.
I mean,
and so glorious.
It's a little bit misleading because that's mostly just like India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, which would have just been India at the time. But fundamentally, that was taking us. That's 1/5 of the world's population in that single country.
So before we start, I have some updates on some stories. So the first one is the Vasilis story. We've gotten a little feedback about Vasilis's sex night story. And the funny thing is I forgot to mention on Tuesday, Eddie told that story on Thursday, right? Last Thursday. Vasilis then called me up that night after he left Eddie's place from watching the Thursday night football game, which at his time must have been 2 a.m.-ish?
No, 5 a.m.
Oh, 5 a.m. Okay, even worse. So he left at 5 a.m. and decided to call me up and proceeded to talk to me for 45 minutes. During that time, I understood maybe 15 minutes of the conversation, and I spoke for about 3 minutes of the conversation.
We should also put for context for people who think that he was on a 45-minute walk home. He lives around 1 kilometer away from my house. So he would have either done laps or he stood stationary for a while.
So what he did update me on the sex story was we had speculated that Vasilis definitely made his money's worth from the food and the drink. However, I've come to find out that he really didn't eat anything because according to him, everything was heavy gluten and his stomach can't take the gluten. So unfortunately for Vasilis, he was not able to enjoy all of the glorious food at the sex party.
Who would he have put that complaint to at the party?
I also love the context of someone attending a sex party, but being put off by the gluten. Like the insight into Vasilis's mind there. He's not afraid of just anonymous group sex, but he is a little bit scared of possibly there being some gluten in some finger food.
And you have to imagine, I mean, the way you described it, he had described it, that, I mean, there's people just having sex in every room. So there more than likely was someone having sex like in the kitchen. And I 100% can picture Vasilis 2 feet away from people having sex in the kitchen being like, do you know if this pizza is gluten-free crust or what are we looking at here?
Just trying to like really awkwardly get around them as they're having sex.
No,
like, I just want to get to the snacks. Excuse me. Oh no, these are quite heavy. I'm gonna back away.
Do
you have anything besides pretzels?
Just like yeah, just like he'll just start like sort of rifling through the cupboards in the kitchen, just trying to find something that he felt comfortable to eat. Like, what are you doing? Come on, guys, there's gluten in everything. Come on.
Yeah, and then he went on about a 10-15 minute rant about why he wouldn't eat gluten during the sex party because of gas and uncomfort. But I couldn't really understand a lot of it. It was a little tough. The other thing that he said that I wanted to clarify, because it was so outrageous the first time we heard it, but this makes it even more outrageous. He clarified on the Scarlett Johansson attending Parisian sex parties. He told me that the person said, as Eddie had mentioned, it's about half the price to attend these parties within the city of Paris, and that there are famous celebrities like Scarlett Johansson. And I said, there's no way Scarlett Johansson was at this party. And he said, no, she was there. And get this, the guy said last time she's really into girls and she had on a strap on and was fucking another girl.
I mean, this is a revelation for a new husband, right?
Vasilis is like that little kid. Like, he's like someone at school whose like friend is just making something up, and he's just like eating every word of it. Where he's like, Jimmy told me last summer he went to the moon, and he's just like, Jimmy went to the moon, you know.
He's eating everything, Eddie, as long as it's not heavy gluten. These rumors,
like even if
or
there
a person at a sex party.
Even if there was the remote possibility that is something she's into, do you think she would be that public about it that someone like Vasilis would easily hear this rumor?
Or maybe, Frank, she's operating, we're playing checkers and she's playing chess here. Because what she realizes is if she goes to random, cheap sex parties in Paris and just fucks people, then they come out and they be like, you will never believe it, Scarlett Johansson was at the sex party I went to, and everyone be like, no fucking way, you liar. So it's just the brilliant move.
Yeah, you're right, that could be it.
Why Paris?
She does actually, I will say,
City
she
of
does
Love.
live here she lives here most of the year. This is true. I do know this for a fact. She lives right by the Moose.
Really?
No way. Really?
Yeah, no, I do know this because we have a mutual friend, if you recall, Mona, who used to go to the Moose all the time.
Yes.
She worked at a clothing store that Scarlett Johansson used to buy almost all of her clothes from.
Wow. Is that why we found that strap-on next to the Moose that one time in the street? Do you think it was hers?
Yeah, her
We
and
could
Eric.
have sold it on eBay.
Eric got
for
pegged
sure.
by Scarlett Johansson.
You know who's buying it as well. That's the problem.
Oh,
Eric's probably buying up all the used strap-ons, just hoping they're hers.
Oh, Eric, I really hope you're listening. We miss you. Please text us. I haven't heard from you in a while. Make sure you're okay.
I spoke to him recently. But no, here's the thing, just to finish up the Vasilis topic. So I did watch Thursday Night Football with Vasilis. Fascinating experience. The guy gets fundamentally nothing about football. This is in spite of the fact that I've probably at this stage watched at least 20 football games with him. I mean, he's watched the Super Bowl with me several times. Admittedly, he once fell asleep in a Super Bowl, which was at halftime of the Falcons-Patriots Super Bowl. And he woke up as Tom Brady was lifting the Lombardi trophy. And he goes, amazing. Just literally, he wakes up on the couch and he went, Falcons won, right? and then, but we were watching the game, and because they use a possession marker as like a little football, at one moment they switched. This was the first question he asked. He was like, why is it -6? I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, why is one of the teams -6? And I thought it was yardage at first. I was like, oh, they probably need 6 yards for a first down, something like that. And then I looked and I was like, oh, that's the possession marker. But in his mind, it was reading like, I can't remember what the game was, but Falcons, who were they playing? But he was reading it like Falcons -6 points and the other team 10. It was one of those things in a way that you're like, what you say actually makes sense, but I just would have never even considered it.
Yeah. Oh, that is funny. So yeah, that's be on the lookout if you're at an extremely cheap sex party in Paris. You may run into celebrities who are purposely going to these because no one would believe it.
I might have to go. I might have to start going just for research purposes, just to scoop out great stories for the podcast.
Well, or we just send Vassin because he's giving us great stories anyway.
Yeah.
We'll do it like that podcast that was like Finding Richard Simmons. I'll just do like Searching for Scarlet, and it will just be me attending Parisian sex parties in the hope of stumbling across Scarlet.
Searching for ScarJo.
Yes.
I can imagine you at some sort of like Eyes Wide Shut party. Like doing
that would be bad though, because then I wouldn't be able to positively identify her.
Yeah, you would. She'd be the one with the strap on.
I'd look over and be like, that 300-pound man with a strap on is definitely ScarJo.
Yeah. You can eliminate half the field because according to Vasilis, she loves to put on a strap on.
I wish I could have watched this guy. I wish I could have watched this guy tell Vasilis the story. I wish I could have seen the enthusiasm that the guy probably told the story with, and then just Vasilis just taking him all on board. Probably the guy being like, I cannot believe this guy is falling for this.
As he probably opened his mouth, said like, hello, my name is blah, 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 saw that look in Vasilis' eyes and thought, I can tell this guy anything.
Yeah. And then probably Vasilis was like, can I sign up? Can I like, I'll pay for it. If I give you 800 euros now, is that good for like 15 of your parties? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, sure. Hand it over.
Yeah, I think there's some sort of like discount scheme going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then, so the other update I have is from the most recent podcast, not the interview we had, but the on Tuesday podcast, we talked about Abe and our Halloween outfit. So I'll preface this by saying Abe is an interesting person because he doesn't do what like a lot of other people do. Like, you know, everyone will watch Netflix and all these things, and he'll sometimes like, oh, do you see this on Netflix? He's like, no, not at all. It's like, you're the only person in the world who hasn't watched this show. So I sent him the podcast and I said, hey, I think you're going to like the first 10 minutes of this. He then proceeded, didn't respond till the next day and said, sorry it took so long. I had to figure out how a podcast works and how to play it. And I was like, well, first off, all you do is just, like I sent him the actual, you know, like the share, like Apple Podcast share, and he has an Apple phone. Yeah. So all he had to do was push it and it would have played automatically. So that took him the day. So that's the first part. He then goes, oh man, I'll never forget our Halloween. That was amazing. And I said, yeah, I know. Like, what'd you think? And he goes, oh, it was great. So he goes, yeah. He goes, my wife just told me that there's a Frankie D podcast that I have to start listening to. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I like, she said you guys started a podcast. And I was like, Abe, that was our podcast. He's like, really? I had no idea.
Wait, had he legitimately listened to it though?
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know. So here's the thing. I said, yeah, that was me and Eddie talking about our Halloween thing. And he goes, get out of here. So I don't know if he was saying like he didn't recognize you, or I think the more logical but crazy is that he didn't realize it was me and you, and that it was another person with an extremely similar story about a group of friends who dressed up as the Village People in Paris. And had a friend named Abe who dressed up as a cowboy and raced someone from metro to metro the following morning.
My word. Is Abe Joe Biden's campaign manager? Is this
No,
Abe
is Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So he then said it sounded really professional, and now he's going to go back and listen to all of them.
Do you trust him with that based on what you've just heard?
I'm going to tell him he can cut probably the first few episodes out. Also, that's a lot of content to catch up on. We're on episode 31 now. We average like 2 hours an episode.
Yeah, he's got like 60 hours.
He never listened to a podcast ever.
You need 2.5 days to catch up now of solid time of just listening to us three discuss things.
Lucky him, like in a way, I'm jealous because it's like when you speak to someone who's like never watched The Wire, and you're like, oh, you're so lucky you get to go back and watch it from the start, and you've never seen it. Abe's a lucky guy. He gets to listen to 30 episodes of us, having never heard them. That's like
having never heard a podcast.
Also true.
We're his first podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
we popped his podcast cherry.
It's gonna really affect his views on the medium as a whole. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, he'll never think of a podcast in the same light. So yeah, those were my 2 updates on our previous stories that I thought were quite humorous.
Nice. We can see if we can get any more information either on Abe or on Vasilis this weekend. And I guess as we mentioned previous podcasts, and we mentioned Joe Biden there quickly, maybe we're saying in the end, because we did that comparison between, not to really break down the current situation. I mean, we're recording it on Thursday, so as of yet, no conclusion to the election, although it looks likely that Biden will win.
Well, wait, Nevada is putting in 1 ballot into the machine every 5 minutes. So at this rate, Nevada will have results in 2031.
Perfect. I mean, that's probably the best solution because both of the candidates will likely be dead by then.
Yeah.
If you've got something to do about it.
Yeah. But I mean, we looked at the discrepancies between the polls and the odds. And as it transpires, actually, the odds pretty much nailed it, has to be said. Like, the starting odds predicted a fairly close race. They gave Trump a much higher chance of winning. They pretty much nailed it on the number of states that would be won, nailed it on the electoral college vote total that looks like the likely outcome. So in the future, if you're looking for your predictions as to how an election will go, don't look at 538, look at 365. It turns out they're much more reliable.
Gambling's a good way of doing it. Ultimately, they're going to have a lot of information from a lot of different sources, and they're going to collate it for you, essentially. And they're going to present you an odd based on ample amounts of analysis and data. I think go with the odds. Yeah, hands down.
Yeah, there was another one like this too during the Oscars. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but all the pundits had predicted it was a Best Actor award. I forget. It was like 1 or 2 years ago, and everyone had predicted this person, but the odds were greatly different and were favoring another person, and everyone basically was saying,
Frank, removing all names and details from this story makes it a totally useless anecdote.
You could have said anything. You could have said like the Kazakhstan election instead of the Oscars, and it would have had the same effect.
You were like, hey, one time this one thing happened, and one person did this, and another person did that, and it turns out that person didn't do it. Crazy story, I know, but it's true.
Well, I was just going to say, because it was the Oscars, and it's a thing that you normally wouldn't think to gamble on. But there is obviously quite a significant market even for entertainment things like that, similar to politics. And the gambling website had predicted it completely right, and everyone else had called it wrong. So I think it's exactly what Sam's saying is that
I get
they're taking in large amounts of information, even on things you wouldn't think that gambling would traditionally be reliable on.
We spoke the week before, right? We talked about the amount of money that Betfair predicted to take on the election and how it was far in excess of what they take on the Super Bowl plus a number of other major events in a year combined. I read yesterday that as of yesterday morning, they had taken over 400 million pounds in match bets on the election so far, and obviously you can still bet on the election even as we speak, so that number will have increased, I'm sure.
That's crazy.
But then again, the only issue with the gambling is that ultimately it's led by money as well. So if lines move, it can be because of large bets. And I remember seeing that in when the UK had its Brexit referendum, because the owners of like Ladbrokes, before they were Ladbrokes Coral, but like the owners of Ladbrokes came out and they basically said, we're taking a ton of money on the Brexit result, but all the big bets are for remaining in the EU, whereas all of the smaller money is for leaving. And the thing is, because obviously it's like one vote, one person, fundamentally, if there's lots of people betting on leave, then you would probably assume that they may vote leave. And the difference, like as far as a referendum goes, the same person that bets 100K and the same person that bets a fiver is still one vote either way. So that was quite interesting. That it shouldn't have been as odds on as it was.
We can all agree, right? It shouldn't be that way. That if you can bet that much more, your vote should count for more.
What, because you're rich, you should get more votes, basically?
Rich or just reckless with your money. One of two ways. I did see, there was someone who put a £5 million bet. Yeah, for being a degenerate. Someone put a £5 million bet on Trump to win. I did see that, which was the largest ever bet placed on an election in the United Kingdom. And you are right, Sam. That's always the interesting thing, right? Which Vegas often releases that information, which is the total amount of money exchanged on a bet on a particular event. But they also will say the number of tickets, and then they say like the number of tickets for one side or another. And in many ways, that would have been more revealing to know about either Brexit or an election, to not only know, hey, we've had 400 million pounds, 300 million on Biden. It would have been good to know, 70% of the bets we're taking are on Biden. Or, I'm plucking that number out of thin air. But
yeah, and we talked about it in our chat. It was pretty interesting. As the night went on, Trump had gotten down, at least on the site that I use, down to a 1-8 favorite. And Biden was basically a 5-1 underdog at one point in the night. And then by the time the following morning had happened, it kind of come back to almost evens.
It was interesting to speak to you about it, because the British bookmakers were always a little bit more optimistic about Biden's chances. When you were 1-8 on Trump, Trump was like 1-3 in the UK.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting, actually.
It's a good thing all that election cheating is going on with that 120K boon in Michigan or Wisconsin or wherever it is. It's good that it's all going against Trump, right?
Yeah.
I had $10 on Michigan. God damn it.
We did warn people, right? Don't necessarily bet the states because you might be facing a very long wait on your payout. And realistically, this might be, if you have bet Pennsylvania or Arizona, you might not be getting paid out until next year. Legitimately, a bookmaker might insist that they will sit on that bet until someone actually takes office. It wouldn't stun me.
Also, politics betting is a lot more stricter in its rules. They're not going to give away many concessions. Like, until someone places their hand on that Bible on top of like the thing, they won't pay out. And even then, I doubt it if they paid out until he was actually like sat down in the Oval Office.
It won't be like the way that Betfair or Paddy Power has already paid out on Fulham to be relegated this year. It won't be like that.
Have they really? I didn't see.
Yeah, they paid out on them in September.
I kind of think it's fair.
I think they paid out on them after 4 matches or something like that.
I was thinking more when they pay out for like a first to the post, and if the horse gets disqualified, they still will have paid out. And I was kind of thinking of like Trump when he declared victory on Friday night. It's like, well, Trump declared victory. He's first to the post. Give me my money.
First person to say they won gets the money.
First to the post.
Paddy Power paid out on Fulham on September 29th. So just over a month into the season. And that's a month also that I think included an international break. So really very little football was played at the moment. They just gave up on them. It must be depressing as a professional footballer and just be like, oh dear. No, but of course there was that issue in the past, right? There was that year they paid out on Arsenal to win the Premier League and United came back and won, right?
Yeah.
That happened with bookmakers. They all paid out in February and then ended up having to pay out twice.
Yeah, and then Fulham did actually go and beat West Brom last time out. So, the comeback's on. It may egg on their face, but
yeah, it seems much riskier to bet on a team to go down just because you don't need that good of a run of form. If you have 10 matches where you suddenly turned it around post-January, if you had a couple of good signings, it wouldn't be that incredible. Whereas obviously if you are a good team, like if you paid out on Liverpool to win the league last year in February, you could have said fundamentally that was safe. They were so far ahead and they were also playing so well.
I wonder what they would have done with COVID if the season was annulled and they'd already paid out. That just would have been a bad loss for them, right?
You'd have to assume so, yeah.
Oh, that would have been a painful beat.
But speaking then of predictions, speaking of bets, and speaking of losses, let's hop on to the NFL and catch up on our statistics after a week in which we took a little bit of a beating in our predictions. The positive is we all got over 50% of the games right when it came to predicting them straight up, but only Frank managed to not dip under 50% in picking them against the spread, and that's just because he went 7 for 7. So...
Oh, just because I went 7 for 7.
Well, I mean, it's not a huge difference. You managed to go exactly 500. So
where did you go?
I'm going to get there. Don't worry. So I went 8-6 straight up, which takes my overall record to 82, 36, and 1. I went 5-9 against the spread.
Ooh, Eddie, that's not good.
Which means I dip under 500 for the first time this year to 58, 59, and 2. Sam also went 8-6 straight up, moving him to 74, 44, and 1, and also went 5-9 against the spread, moving him to 56, 61, and 2. Frank, you went 9-5 straight up, and you've gone to 73, 45, and 1, and you went 7-7 against the spread, moving you to 57, 60, and 2. So we are separated against the spread by only 3 games between the three of us, which is fairly impressive that we're basically ended up at almost identical records after 8 weeks.
Now, my 2 over you both of you this week in the against the spread was that 2 specific games where I took a different one than you guys did.
Well, not exactly.
You also took the Lions.
Yeah, so you took the Lions, you lost there, but then Sam took the Panthers on Thursday night and lost there. I took the
I had the Giants. You guys both had the Bucks, right?
Yeah, I know, but we kind of there was a few games where we either gained or lost on each other. There were several games where we were all wrong. That has to be said. We were all wrong on the Rams. We were all wrong on the Packers. We were all wrong on the Titans. We were all wrong on the Chargers. We were all wrong on the Saints minus 4.5, which, given the fact that they were up 10 with like 3.5 minutes left, is a little bit harsh, but fundamentally it is what it is.
The Bills would have cost us on the spread as well, if I remember right, against the Patriots.
The Bills didn't cover the spread. The spread was 4 and they won by 3. So yeah, we had a couple games where we missed the spread by just a couple of points, but fundamentally we also had some games where we missed the spread by quite a few points, and as is the case in the Titans. 5
out of my 7 losses because I followed you losers.
Wow.
I mean,
okay. Well, let's see if week 9's another week, right?
Yeah, so you're still not winning the competition in either of the categories, Frank. So if you just followed us losers, you would actually technically be doing better.
And one of the people in here is sometimes a squid in other sports. So.
No, it's a completely separate entity.
No, I said sometimes a squid. Like it's almost like a kind of like Bruce Wayne, Batman
He's
kind
half,
of thing.
half man, half squid. That's an interesting question of you. Sam, which half of you is a squid?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be bottom half, right? Because otherwise I wouldn't have any sort of ability to speak on a podcast. Or it's got to be bottom half squid.
Wow.
What are you thinking?
Interesting.
What, so you'd rather have like no ability? Oh, do I as a squid head still have the ability to like talk and do
You could be
human
a
things?
sentient. You could be like a. Well, I mean, squids are.
Well, a
sentient.
sentient.
You could be. Yeah. You could be a squid with a human brain. Top half of you. I mean, either one is gross, right? It's like that question: would you, if you had to have sex with a mermaid, do you want the top half to be a fish or the bottom half to be a fish? It's clearly bottom half. Anyone who says top half is an absolute psycho.
You can't cover up a fish head on
if you say top half,
legs.
if you say top half, you're basically saying I want to have sex with a fish.
Are you?
Fundamentally, yes. You're getting the physical experience of a woman or a man, because we're not discriminating.
With gender agnostic.
Then it would be a merman, Dad. Merman, Dad. Merman.
I don't know that reference.
Wait,
Zoolander.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's amazing.
He's a mermaid
Frank, your ability for your ability to recall very insignificant quotes from fairly insignificant movies compared to your inability to say remember what you had for breakfast yesterday. It's quite.
Yeah, well, that's.
Is that why you voted for?
Eddie.
Is that why you voted? Is that why you voted for Joe Biden? It was the first time you've looked at a political candidate and been like, I can see a little bit of him, of me in him.
No, I voted for Bill Clinton.
that vacant look in his eyes, I can totally see that.
Hey, he's your next president, Frank. Show him some respect.
I was saying that. He's not my president.
I know he said something.
He's not my president. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
He is not my president.
Hashtag not in my name.
Hashtag
But
not
anyway,
my
yes.
president.
So,
Week 9.
Sam, you want to get us underway with our Week 9 picks? We get to start off as a Niners podcast.
Yeah, firstly, I just want to congratulate Brady for taking the record on most touchdown passes.
Oh, I know. Breaking news, guys. Breaking news. Brady retook it. I mean, thrilling. Just two titanic quarterbacks going head to head, toe to toe, just exchanging blows. And we're going to get to think how exciting it's going to be this weekend because they play each other. So drive for drive, they get to break news one after the other. Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
There's this mess of a ticker on the bottom of the screen as they're like writing text over the previous text.
We spoke about this, right? The idea: do they come onto the field and celebrate? Like, are they gonna have like a pause after every touchdown? Like fireworks go off. They come on, carry Brady off the field after one drive, carry Breeze off after the other drive. Just a stadium filled with smoke after a while. Game ends up taking 9.5 hours to be finished.
All right, Thursday night game. Yeah, Friday morning, depending where you are. Packers at the 49ers. We get straight into Niners Nation here. Eddie.
Very sad Niners Nation, it has to be said. I know Frank is going to... I know exactly what Frank is about to say. But Niners just crippled by injuries now. And also now COVID, positive COVID tests and things. To put it in context of like how much they're going to be missing, particularly offensive players. Already the defensive players in Joey Bosa and a few others are already out. If you look back to the last time these two played each other, which was in the NFC Championship game back in January, when the Niners absolutely destroyed the Packers, I think 9 offensive players for the Niners touched the ball over the course of that game. All 9 of those players will not be playing in this game. And only one of them because he left the team, in Matt Breida, because he left the team at the end of last season. The remaining 8 players are all out, either injured or because of COVID. And then in addition to that, they are also missing Ayuk, who's out because of someone close to him has tested positive for COVID. So then the other offensive weapon that they would have added is also missing. And it looks like Jordan Reed might play in this game, so that gives them someone to throw to. But there's no way. I'm just going to say now, there's no way the Niners win this game.
The line has moved massively. I think it was like 2.5 when it first came out, and then it's gone up to 7 at the moment. So it's. I forgot to mention that the Packers are favourites by 7 points, and I saw the kind of COVID stuff and the injury stuff, but also just on a side note as well, the Vikings loss for the Packers was pretty bad, and I expect a good team to bounce back, as we always say. So, coupled with that, I'm going with Packers in the spread. It sounds like you're going 49ers, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers are also missing players for tonight, it has to be said. So in a way, I think this is, you said that to take a good team bouncing back after a defeat. I'm not sure this is a good team in the Packers. That would be my, if you told me that if I could reduce the number of Niners missing by 50% to play in this game, I actually would probably feel pretty confident about the Niners.
What if one of them was Jimmy G?
Oh, Jimmy G by himself
would lose it automatically.
Yeah.
But and here's the only thing I'm a little bit scared about. When Mullins kind of burst onto the scene, and my memory might play tricks with me here. I think it was a Thursday night game against the Raiders. And Frank, I'm going to say this and you're going to tell me how on earth am I going to possibly remember this. But I remember it was a Thursday night game. The Raiders were favorites. And then it was when the Niners were just awful, when Jimmy G had his injury. And the Niners just absolutely destroyed the Raiders. It included that 75-yard touchdown from Kittle. Now, there's this element here where I'm just a little bit scared of the team that's going to be, there's suddenly going to be all these guys coming off the bench and from the practice squad, and they're going to be making plays, and you're going to get that Thursday night announcers being like, oh, this guy was stacking shelves a week ago and now he's scoring touchdowns in Thursday night football. I can kind of see those things coming, but fundamentally I think they're just this is like a Niners D squad and not the double Ds that we've referenced in the past. So I'm going to take the Packers and the Packers to cover the spread. And I think I would take the Packers -10 in all honesty.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie failed to also mention they've lost Quan Alexander, one of their best defense, one of their best linebacker, who was traded to the Saints.
Third best linebacker.
Okay. Right now, he would probably be the starting QB at this point. But the interesting thing, Aaron Rodgers, 4-6 against the Niners. So he does not even have a winning record against the Niners. But I cannot go against a even decent team after a loss against a team that's mediocre at best. So I will take the Packers and 7. I'll still take them. I'll take the Packers -7. The interesting thing here is the over-under is only 48. To me, that seems really low, considering I think Mullins can actually put up 20 points when it's all said and done. And that would mean that if they held the spread 27, 28, 20, I mean, it's right there. But I think it's going to be 35-21 kind of game. I think it's going to be way over 48. I will be taking the teaser of that over.
So you're so confident in the 48 that you're going to tease it lower?
Yeah. Great. What a great approach. I love the 48, but only if it's 6 points lower.
If only I could tease that to a lower value, then I'd be more sure.
No, I'm saying I'm going to put it in my weekly teaser. I'm not saying I wouldn't take it straight up. If I had money in my betting account, I would take it straight up. But desperate times call for desperate measures.
All right. Next up is the Ravens at the Colts. So Ravens are 1.5 point favorites.
I want Frank to start this one out because in a way, this is a tough one for him. This is two teams he fundamentally hates every week. So let's see who he picks.
What's the spread?
1.5.
Ravens are favored, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is tough. So, I mean, I am always adamant that I do not think Lamar Jackson is a great throwing QB. when he's facing a good defense. And here you
Don't
have
say this again. You frame this as if there's so many people, a great throwing QB. We're going to go over this again.
We went through this. Yes, I pulled the first article I pulled up that said he's an elite throwing QB.
From
it took me 7 seconds to pull it up from last year. Year.
7 seconds is a pretty long time for a Google search.
Well, I don't have great internet here because I'm having to stream. You of all people should know about bad internet.
You're trying to flex.
Yeah, but also he's got to open up Google. He's got to open up Google.
No, I have to open up Yahoo.
Type it. Alta Vista.
I have to open up Yahoo, type in Google, and then search it on Google.
He puts in his AOL Online disk. He puts that in,
and then here's that horrible 56k modem noise.
The dial.
Exactly. What an impression! It's like we're there.
Getting back to it, we just mentioned the good team after a loss. I still think the Ravens are a good team. I just think they can't rely on Jackson to throw the ball. I think they should just let him be a great running QB that he is. They have a good defense. They were close to winning that game against the Steelers. I mean, they had that drive at the end, right? They could have scored to win it. So it's not like it was a terrible loss against the Steelers. The only thing that scares me is the Phillip Rivers seems to be heating up a little bit. And maybe that's just right before he's going to die on the field. Maybe this is like his last hurrah, and who knows, 2 weeks he could be dead on the field of old age.
No, but it's because he's entering into mating season.
So that scares me. Phillip Rivers always scares me. I can never bet with him, and I can never bet against him because you never know what you're getting with Phillip Rivers. I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think they'll bounce back. I think it's going to be close, but 1.5 is, you kind of have to go Ravens on that.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I think one thing Lamar Jackson doesn't want is going against a good rush defense. The Steelers had a good one, lost. Colts have a better one. I mean, they give away about 3.5 yards a carry. I think they've conceded like the least rushing yards in the NFL this season at about like 560. It's a bad matchup. It's a really bad matchup for the Ravens, in my opinion. And as much as Phillip Rivers can kind of blow hot and cold, I'd rather take the Colts on defense against the Ravens. So I'm taking the Colts to win and to cover, obviously.
I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little scared of the Colts. They do offensively, they are heating up. So I'm a little bit cautious about this one, but I have to stick to my general rule. I think the Ravens are a good team, and they did just lose. So I have to take them. The Hewitt rule has to be applied to this game. So I have to take the Ravens.
Oh, wait. You invented this rule? You're the first person to have said take a good team after a loss?
Might be.
I do not think you are.
Might be. Prove me wrong. See if you can find someone else saying it in 7 seconds on Google.
Wait, now I've got to download like Bing first to find Google.
Hold on. Internet Explorer is updating.
It's asking me to download like Real Player 7.
I don't have QuickTime, damn it.
Just call Abe and see if he can find it.
All right, next up, Panthers at the Chiefs, and Chiefs are 10.5 point favorites. Anyone going against the Chiefs here?
I gotta stop. I keep getting burned every week almost. I keep saying like they're playing with their foot, half down on the pedal, playing in third gear, whatever other analogy I want to use for how they're not taking opponents really seriously. But I mean, I've also disliked the Panthers all year. So fundamentally, I've backed myself into a corner here. I for sure, obviously the Chiefs are winning, and I think they'll cover that spread, but I don't love it once it starts getting over 10 points against quite a decent team, like a decent defense in the Panthers. It's a little bit of a risk, but I think I've been wrong several weeks, 3 weeks, I think 2 weeks in a row now, just not backing the Chiefs to cover the spread. So fool me 3 times, shame on me.
Yeah, I don't think the Panthers have like any sort of defense to stop Mahomes. It is one of those classic, like, will the Chiefs just be bored of this and the spread then looks a bit dodgy? I'm with you on that one, Eddie. But I can't not. So yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs at the cover.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey might be back. Not that I think it's going to make a huge difference. The Chiefs have put up 26, 43, and 35 in their last 3 games. I think, to use Eddie's analogy, they've gone out of 3rd gear and have bumped it up to at least 4th gear. So I think they can cover, no problem. I'll take them on both.
Okay. What do you guys think of the Bears at the Titans? And the Titans are 6.5-point favorites.
This is a tough one for me. I watched both of these teams complete games in week 8. They both looked terrible in different ways. The Titans' defense looked absolutely awful. The Bengals were able to move the ball with them at ease. The Bears, on the other hand, just couldn't move the ball at all for most of that game until the very end. So which one of these is going to be more incompetent? The Titans' defense or the Bears' offense? And I'm going to decide that it's going to be the Bears' offense. So I'm going to take the Titans and I'm going to take them to cover the spread. I'm going to tell you now, the Titans don't fall this week into the Hewitt rule that's now famous and everyone knows as being attributed to me of the good team bouncing back after a win. So even though the Titans lost last week, I'm not going to actually apply that rule to them because I'm not entirely sure that they're a good team.
They lost 2 in a row, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the Hewitt rule applied to them last week, and they showed that they do not qualify. But yeah, I'm taking the Titans still.
Yeah, I will take the Titans to win. I'm still not sure if they're a good team, but they played close against Pittsburgh. They came back pretty well, and they had excuses in that Bengals game. Like we talked about it. I almost thought they were going to win, and then they had that early interception and then the missed field goal after that, and that kind of just put them in a terrible trajectory. I'll take them to win. I don't see them covering, though. I'm confident in them winning. I'm not confident in them in winning by a touchdown. They still haven't looked phenomenal like they were earlier on. So the Bears just continue to just screw me week after week. So I'm sure this will be another week. I don't know if I've ever gotten them right yet this year. So I'll take them to cover. Let's see what they can do this time.
Sorry, you said
not a game I'm very interested in watching.
You're taking the Bears to cover?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually agree. I think this one will be close. The Titans look pretty well. They look bad against the Bengals, but the problem with the Bears is they've just got no offense to complement what is a pretty all right defense. And I just think that the Titans will win, but I think it'll be closer. I just think the Bears defense will keep it close against what is a pretty good Titans offense. So I'll go Titans win, but I think the Bears will cover the spread.
I like that you say this is a game you probably won't take much interest in, Frank, but the reality is this is probably 2 playoff teams playing against each other, which is kind of depressing, but they'll probably both be playing in January.
Do you think the Bears can make it?
Yeah, because in a way that division, which at first looked like a really strong one, now looks like a pretty weak one.
They still have a pretty tough schedule left. They have Titans, Vikings, Packers, so they could lose their next 3. That puts them to 5 and 6. Then you have Lions, Texans. Maybe they win 1. That puts them to 6 and 7.
You're still defending the Texans.
Oh, we've got them coming up. That'll be fine.
And then Vikings, Jaguars, Packers. So lose 2 out of 3 there. So you're looking at them maybe winning realistically. Okay, let's say they beat the Lions, the Texans, and the Jaguars. They're looking at 8 and 8.
They'll probably win one of those other games, though, right?
There's a solid amount of divisionals in there, and usually that can throw up some pretty different
They're not going to beat the Vikings.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I do agree with you. I mean, obviously, I've kind of got to keep the Cousins IV flowing into my veins, so I am hopeful that I will live through January. But I think there's a fairly solid chance that the Bears make the playoffs, even as a wild card, just because, again, now the NFC looks a little bit easier because the Niners are completely out of playoff contention.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying 4 out of their next 9 games are the Vikings and the Packers.
Oh, no, but this will determine their fate, right?
Yes.
But there is a scenario in which they win 3 of those, and suddenly they're absolutely certain to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that scenario doesn't exist.
Stubborn as ever. All right. Next up is the Broncos at the Falcons, and the Falcons are 4-point favorites. For me, like seeing them overcome that 21 or 20-point deficit against the Chargers, I kind of like that. I've never been a fan of the Falcons. The Falcons are a team that notoriously surrender leads from a good position. And I don't know. I think the Broncos defense is okay. It's kind of good enough, but I don't know. There's sometimes where you just go with a gut and it keeps going against the Falcons. And until last week, it served me pretty well. So I think I'm going to go Broncos and cover on this one. I think we're going to see another Falcons meltdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, right, that the Broncos have somehow ended up playing back-to-back games against the two teams that are now famous for blowing huge leads. I mean, the Chargers and the Falcons are doing it professionally. And I mean, obviously professionally, literally looks like their goal is to dominate 3 quarters and then absolutely fall apart in the fourth. That being said, one interesting fact, when I was kind of trying to research this game, and maybe I've just somehow managed to avoid this fact, even though I read Pro Football Network fairly regularly. Pro Football Network, the guy who was writing about this game is called Ryan Gosling, which was, I mean, kind of interesting. But at first I thought it was a joke, and that they had a bit where they use famous actors' names and pretend that they've decided to write a piece on a random NFL game. But it turns out he's a legitimate Pro Football Network writer.
So now, wait, here's a question. Do we get him on and pretend he's the actor Ryan Gosling, or do we get the actor Ryan Gosling on and pretend he's the Pro Football Focus writer?
Oh, we get the actor on and pretend that he is just some stat head football guy.
Don't you guys want to talk about La La Land? No, we want to talk about why the Giants need to move on from Daniel Jones.
But I'm going to take the Falcons to win, because I was actually reasonably impressed with them on Thursday night. Offensively, they moved the ball really, really well. They should have won that game more easily than they ended up doing it. They looked a far better team on Thursday. I don't think the Broncos are just that good. I'm a little bit torn because I think it'll be close. So the 4 points, I'm almost tempted to try and do the Frank and thread the needle on this one. But I'm going to take the Falcons to win and cover the spread.
Yeah, this is another game. I do not trust the Broncos. I've said it every week. I think Drew Lock is a terrible quarterback, and his stats were great last week, but those stats were largely because of a fourth quarter meltdown. Before that, he looked atrocious as usual.
When we're talking about Drew Lock, can we also just address the fact that he did the absolute dorkiest dance after they scored? I mean, that was just the worst thing I've seen on a football field in years.
They asked him about that
video. I would ask you to do it, but I never saw it. I really want to know.
They asked him about it, and he said the dance moves will definitely keep on coming.
Okay, then I like the Falcons even more. He deserves to lose.
Yeah. So I'm not sold on them. This, though, is a stat that makes me very nervous. The Falcons are 0-4 straight up and against the spread, being a favorite this season. While that does scare me, the other part of my brain says, you know what it says, Eddie?
They're due.
They are due for a win. So I will take the Falcons as the favorite to win straight up, and I will take them to win against the spread.
And also we'll just throw this joke in anyway, right? Donald Trump has already blown a big lead in Atlanta this week, so the Falcons don't need to do it this time around.
Nice. Did you just see the news that the campaign team for Trump just came out and said that he's not going to concede? And they quoted by saying, in a free and fair election, the president wins. Nice. I mean, how dictatorial does that sound?
Oh, it's good, though. Next week, we're going to be able to pick the line in the Civil War.
True, we're going to see Frank dressed up in his Minuteman outfit.
It's going to get awkward for Frank because Arizona is going to be surrounded by Everyone's going to have to be fleeing to California there.
No, in fact, we'll have to hold the Western Front in Arizona.
Yeah, your office
Frank,
will turn
we need
into
you. Yeah, we need you.
your
on the
office will
east
turn
side.
into the Alamo.
Yeah.
I can imagine
Canada.
just hearing you still doing the podcast though, but just hearing like sporadic gunfire in the background as you're like warding off like rival supporters.
We joke, but which one's more likely? What we just discussed, or the Bears making the playoffs?
Civil War or the Bears making the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's a bit unfair, really, because the
Civil
NFL would
War.
probably the NFL would probably be cancelled because
No
of
way.
the Civil
Roger
War.
Goodell would play on no matter what. They would pause fighting so that games could be played on Sundays.
It's called Soldier Field for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Gotta respect the soldiers.
But ironically,
just-
the Bears won't be playing on that field come playoffs.
Or you'll just get scenes like out of the Batman movie.
Oh God.
Jesus. Okay. All right. I don't know who to go to first with this one. Do we go to Frank's insistence that the Lions are okay, or do we go to the Kirk Cousins IV scenario? It's the Lions at the Vikings, and the Vikings are 3-point favorites. Let's go to the Kirk Cousins
the Lions looked so good last week. I'm sure Kirk Cousins is just shaking in his boots.
No, I mean this is easy because from what we're seeing, Stafford's not going to play.
Yeah, he's
And
placed on that list,
if there's one thing I remember about the Lions, when Stafford was out, they were basically a high school football team last year. I mean, what was his name, Eddie? I can't even remember the quarterback that came in. He was so bad.
Last year? I can't remember. This year it's
Yeah.
Chase Daniel, right?
No, it wasn't Chase Daniel. It was.
But this year, this year, that's who it is.
I mean, I still don't trust Chase Daniel either. So for me, I mean, Minnesota obviously looked much better against the Packers. The Packers had no answer for their run game. They could not stop them. I think they still think they have a shot at the playoffs. And, we just discussed they still play the Bears twice. So, they can still play the right teams to put themselves into contention to make the playoffs. So I will stick with Minnesota in this one. And at least for me, the line is gone now because of the Stafford whether he's going to play.
I saw 3, but the problem was that was probably picked. I found that line before. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know how far it's going out, but I mean, there's a better question, right? Do we all think that, Eddie? Do you think the Vikings will win? If so, are we all agreeing a line? We would say we'd take, or
I say it's probably going to be like, what was it? It was 3. It would probably be around 7 then.
I would say probably a touchdown. Yeah. Should we
Driscoll,
do that instead?
Eddie, wasn't it Driscoll?
Yeah, I could have. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we think that Stafford is only a 4-point impact on the Lions. They're missing other players too, right? They're missing Golladay. They're missing a few other players. Let's say 7. We'll take 7, and you know what? We can make an adjustment. We can speak to each other and make an adjusted pick if it's significantly different to 7 anyway, and we'll just talk about that on Monday. But if we say, I'll put it this way, I'm confident in taking a Vikings team against a Staffordless Lions, probably up to around 8. So unless it's over 8, I'll stick with the Vikings.
I'm wrong. It was David Blow. Remember him?
Yeah. How could you have forgotten, Frank?
Yeah.
The jokes you could have got out of that.
God, that was awful.
All right, Frank. Texans at the Jaguars, and the Texans are 7-point favorites.
And well, they should be, because they are going to smoke the Jaguars here.
That
the Jags have
playing that 1-6 team in that divisional game.
The Jags have lost 6 consecutive games, and 5 of those were by more than 7. And now they don't have the quirky Gardner Minshew playing. And the Texans have won the last 5 times they played Jacksonville. Put those together, and that's a big Texans win. Look out, Deshaun Watson MVP.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to take the Texans, and I'm going to take the Texans to cover the spread. It's not because they're good. It's because they're about to play against a sixth-round quarterback who's making his first appearance in the NFL. So it's if they can't beat this, then they're basically almost not an NFL team. So yeah, I'm pretty confident, but I'm really not looking forward to Monday when Frank is suddenly going to proclaim that he's been right all along just because the Texans beat the Jags by 20 points.
For me, the problem is, right, it's two bad teams. Like, they're both 1-6. It's a divisional game, and you've got a team up by a touchdown, essentially, away from home. Like, I don't know. The Texans give away like 31 points a game, but I also think the Jags give over 30 points a game as well. So it's either high scoring, but ultimately there's just a small part of me. This is probably more gut, but they've just have they both come off a bye, or was it just the Jags? I can't remember. But even with that QB, what is it, Luton or whatever he's called? Luton?
Yeah,
Luton, like the place in England.
Like the lovely place that everyone flies into.
He's from Oregon State. What's their nickname, Eddie?
The Beavers.
Correct. Nice job.
I don't know. It's getting to that point where maybe a little bit more gut feeling comes into this. I think I'm going to take the Texans to win, but I've just got that feeling about it being a closer game than 7. So I'm going to take him. I'll take the Jaguars on the spread. I'm going to be burnt by it massively, but I don't know. I just think it's two bad teams playing against each other and a team away from home in a divisional. I'm not so sure. But anyway, moving on is the Giants at Washington. Big game. And the Washington.
What a game. This is the game that officially. This is the game when I talk each week about games I will not be watching at all. This is it. This wins the week in terms of hopefully time spent watching is under a minute.
So what I found interesting about this one, though, is that Washington actually have one of the best pass defenses in the league. And I think they're like 6th in the stats for like sacks. They've got a good defense. Like, they've got a pretty solid defense. And when you think, okay, he's up against Daniel Jones, who made those 2 pretty costly picks in the Bucs game.
That's an understatement.
I think, yeah, true. I say pretty,
you, Eddie.
It's probably just adding words needlessly. But I actually think the 2.5 is good value on Washington. I think they'll stop the Giants pretty easily, and they'll put up some pretty regular points. Not a lot, but regular scoring. So I'm going to take Washington and to cover.
I'm a little torn because actually the Giants looked pretty good on Monday night. Overall, I actually was impressed. The thing I'm warning myself is I've been impressed by them once before this year, and that led to me taking them to win the next week, and they were destroyed. So I've got to be careful about being impressed with them because they look semi-competent, because it will come back to bite me. So I am going to take Washington to win and cover the spread. Kind of under similar logic of you. I think at this point you can just assume that Daniel Jones is going to throw at least one interception. The question is, will it be a game-changing one or just irrelevant? But it does mean if it's a tight game, you can't. He's at the stage now. I actually don't think he's that bad. I wouldn't actually give up on him if I were the Giants. I think there is some potential there. He makes really good throws and really good plays at times. He just has a tendency. He'll make 9, good to very good plays in a row, and then just one absolutely atrocious one that undoes all of the good work. So I'm going to take Washington, but it wouldn't surprise me if New York kind of built a little bit on the momentum from Monday and won.
Yeah, it's the enigma that's Daniel Jones. I mean, Eddie's point is completely validated by the last drive they have. He has an amazing drive, made some crazy 4th down throws, had some good runs, threw a bullet for that touchdown to Golden Tate, looked great, and then to tie the game up, all he's got to do is hit a simple 3-yard out route to the receiver and completely underthrows him behind him and blows the game. And that's
probably
Daniel
pass
Jones.
Interference, in fairness for him. Still should have done better with the throw, but probably pass. I will say, I think if it had been reversed, if that was Tom Brady trying to tie the game, I think they don't pick that flag up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of bothers me is if someone throws the flag, I think you should almost have to call it.
Well,
unless the other official had like the absolute clear view and the other official who threw it had an obstructed view, which wasn't the case, then I don't understand how you can overturn it.
I mean, I just don't get, because they had this twice in that game, right? That were on both occasions they picked up the flag, once for the Bucks and once for the Giants. Now, it was a much more significant play when they did it for the Giants, but on both occasions, the official in the best place to make the call through the flag, they then huddled and spoke for 90 seconds, 2 minutes, over 2 minutes almost, and then decided, no, actually, no flag. I don't understand what they're talking about in those huddles when the person with the best view thinks it's the penalty, unless they are getting information from somewhere else. Like, this is the only thing, which they're not supposed to be getting, right? But unless you're telling me, which would make way more sense, is if in their earpiece someone was like, "Oh, bang, bang, play, pick up the flag." But is the guy on the other side of the field coming across and being like, "Well, through the 20 players, I had a feeling that maybe it was pretty close," you know?
No, Eddie, I've seen the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial. They're getting together to give the people more time to eat their wings. That's what they're doing.
Is
come on,
Baker Mayfield in that one?
No, sadly he's not. That's why they're not that good. Baker Mayfield, a true classic actor, classically trained.
I should say, just because it's important, just the source that we're taking these lines from, not that anyone will be that interested, but the Packers are now only 6.5-point favorites. We all took the Packers anyway, so it doesn't change anyone's pick. But
Daniel, like, the other thing about that pass interference that bothers me is he did make a bad throw, and had Daniel Jones made a better throw, he catches that regardless of the pass interference or not. But I think it's unfair to say, like, oh, it doesn't matter if it was pass interference or not. It was Daniel Jones' fault because it was a bad throw. Like, I think that's kind of unfair, because if that were Tom Brady and he made a bad throw and got the call, no one would still be saying, like, oh, well, Tom Brady still should have thrown it. They'll be like, oh, well, it's pass interference. That's why he didn't get it. You know, so he gets a bad rap for that because of that flag being picked up. When, yeah, he could have hit him, but it still was pass interference, probably.
Let's also be real. It wasn't a bad throw.
It just wasn't Had he
good.
Made a good throw, it didn't have to be a great throw. If he had just made a good throw, they score.
Yeah, but that's why it's not bad, right? Like, it was right at the receiver. He just didn't.
It's a 5-yard out, though.
He just didn't lead the receiver away from the defender. But it wasn't awful. It wasn't like you didn't see him throw it and be like, "My God, this guy is an NFL quarterback." It wasn't on that level, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the issue with Jones, is he has those great plays and then he has some not so great plays, and just the turnovers are terrible. But the interesting thing that everyone keeps pointing out is Carson Wentz actually has more turnovers this year than Daniel Jones, which is pretty impressive. They
should do. I hope we get to a stage where we're getting breaking news when Breeze or Brady throws that, and then the turnover record. Like, if we can just get constant breaking news going on in the final few weeks of the season, I'd be so happy.
That would be funny. I mean, the Giants beat the Washington football team 3 weeks ago, so it was close, and Washington missed the 2-point conversion there to win it. But I'm going to go with what Eddie said, and the Giants have looked much better of late. They probably should have beat the Eagles. They probably could have at least put the Bucks into overtime. And Washington has a good pass rush, but I'll stick with the Giants. They seem to be heating up a little bit, so I'll go Giants over Washington in both.
Congratulations, Frank.
It's not over yet. There could be
it's not over yet, but you managed to get through probably the longest period of time that you've ever spoken about the Washington football team without using the controversial word.
I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to this because I have no idea what I said, because in my head, all I kept saying is, just say Washington football team, just say Washington football team.
Interesting enough, Frank, that's pretty much all you've said.
That's all you said, yeah. All right. Next up, the Seahawks at the Bills, and the Seahawks are 3-point favorites.
Tough one. Really tough one. Because you can see really obvious flaws in both of these teams. And the issue here is the Bills might have flaws on both sides of the ball, whereas the Seattle clearly has flaws only on one side. So in a way that should make me prefer the Seahawks, but I am going to give the Bills one final chance to prove that they are a good team. And I'm going to take the Bills to win. And I'm going to take the Bills +3.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, fair enough. But for me, I'm going with the Seahawks and to cover here because when you look at the Bills, their last like 4 outings, what is it like? They put up 16, 17, 18 and 24. And the last 2 are against
They've been
the Jets.
saving the points. They've been saving the points for when they need them.
Well, they're going to need them.
There's an argument for that, but boy, are they going to need them. And if they're not posting them against the Jets and the Patriots, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if this suddenly ramps up against a better team. Granted, not a better defense, but against a better team that is easily going to put up 30 plus. So for that reason, I'm going to go Seahawks and to cover.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like the Bills. I want to root for the Bills. I hope they do well. I think they're a good team. They're a fun team to watch. I like Josh Allen. But you're talking about a team who was losing to the Jets at one point, and a team that had Cam not fumbled that ball on the 15-yard line, they might have lost or at least went to overtime in that game against a not so great Patriots team. Go to the other side of the ball, and you have a Seahawks team who's going to put up 30 almost no matter what. And I don't think the Bills can put up 30 right now. I mean, I hope they get back to, what they were doing and what they were expected to do. But right now they don't look like that team that can hang with a team like the Seahawks. The other thing that does suck for them is you would normally have the Seahawks going to Buffalo in a pretty hostile stadium in November. But unfortunately, they don't allow fans, and it's supposed to be 71 degrees. So they're going to lose all of that home field advantage aspect of it as well. So I'm going to go Seahawks and Seahawks to cover.
We don't really talk. We know early on in the year, we spoke about the weird fan noise kind of pumped in sound levels in places that have no fans. And we mentioned in a couple games where we thought maybe would have made a difference. I think the game we really spoke about that was in the Seattle New England game when New England was able to drive down the field and obviously came up short in the end, but on that final drive and what difference a home crowd might have made to that situation. It is interesting.
That when it got stopped on the 1.
Exactly. It is interesting watching a lot of these games now where you do watch they're having a lot of close games and just the total lack of noise. It just means that teams on the road almost have an advantage at times just because you're able to so easily communicate. You want the ball last.
All right. Raiders at the Chargers, and Chargers are 1-point favorites. So complete toss-up.
I don't get this one, to be honest. I kind of feel at this point that the Raiders have proven themselves to be at least pretty competent, and I don't see a lot about the Chargers to love. So I'm going to take the Raiders in this one.
Whoa.
Not a Herbert fan?
I do not love Herbert.
I mean, I just don't.
No, I want a detailed analysis, Eddie. I want it right here, right now.
What's not to like about Jake Herbert?
I think he looks really good, and I think the Chargers should be. The Chargers should be very happy with themselves in the sense that they definitely have a quarterback that they can stick with for a few years to come. That being said, he does also have the tendency to not come through in the moments that really count yet. That might change over time, but he's been put in a few situations where he's needed to be a little bit clutch, and he hasn't been so far.
So here's a good question, Eddie, I have for you. Actually, I like this. It's a very small sample size because he's only been starting since week 2. But have the Chargers done a better job with their 2 franchise quarterbacks than the Giants have? Because obviously there's that huge debate with the whole Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning draft. And now they both had that QB for how many years? 14 years?
Yeah, even a bit more, right? Maybe 15, 16 years. Yeah.
And now they've gone out and gotten their next franchise quarterback with the Chargers and Herbert and the Giants and Daniel Jones. Who has done the better job so far? The Giants or the Chargers over the past 18 years, whatever it is?
You'd have to say the Giants because they won 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning, and the Chargers never even made it to the Super Bowl. You
But
could
how
even
many would
then,
Phillip Rivers have won if he were on the Giants?
no more than 2. I mean, let's put it that way. No, definitely no more than 2. And then on top of it, right, Eli Manning has 2 of the most iconic Super Bowl passes of all time. Probably the most iconic play in Super Bowl history in the helmet catch. And then the pass in the second Super Bowl as well. Another one of the great plays of the Super Bowl. So also, if you're being really critical of the Chargers, you could say that their persistence with Manning and with Rivers in the end cost them the better quarterback, right? Because they just could have had Breeze.
They could have.
So if you're really analyzing their management of quarterbacks, you could say that fundamentally 3 Super Bowls have gone to quarterbacks who could have been Chargers, and no Super Bowls have been won by the Chargers, or no even Super Bowl appearances in that time frame. So look, they look more likely to have found a quarterback who's going to make them competitive in the near future, whereas there's every chance that Daniel Jones won't be starting in the NFL after this year. So in that sense, for managing back-to-back quarterbacks, the Chargers get the edge. But look, if you ask the Chargers, would you rather have Daniel Jones and have won 2 Super Bowls in your lifetime, or to be consistently in the playoffs but never have won a Super Bowl in your lifetime? I know which one most fans would pick.
We're gonna have to just check back in 15 years. Sam, can you write this down for our future podcast?
Set a reminder on your phone.
15 years from now, let's reevaluate the Chargers versus Giants.
Episode 12,000.
Quarterback situation.
Good news is by then Daniel Jones will be just a co-host of the podcast, so he'll be.
I thought you were going to say he was going to be bagging my groceries.
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah, he would do it, but like every 10th grocery, he just missed the bag.
If Daniel Jones were bagging groceries, how many times would he drop the bag? It's a great question. What does he fumble the most? What produce is he fumbling? Is there any way he's holding on to like a cantaloupe?
Nah, too big. He'd be fine with that. Although it most resembles a football, he'd be okay with that. I think it would be like cans.
Like a spaghetti squash. He's doomed. There's no way he can hold a spaghetti squash and put it in the bag.
Very specific.
Wait, spaghetti squash?
It looks very much like a football.
Wait, should I have heard of this? Am I being dumb? What's a spaghetti squash? Yeah. Is it just a squash?
Yeah, it's a more like, it looks like almost like a football shape, just not as pointy at the ends, but it's yellow, that kind of shape. And then you bake it, and then you can it shreds into spaghetti basically.
Okay. Wow.
Quite tasty. Low carb people love it.
Who carb people? Like they're like a town nearby.
Like Vasilis. Vasilis would love spaghetti squash. No gluten. If there's spaghetti squash at the next sex party, Vasilis
imagine
is in.
the spaghetti squash at a sex party. Just people putting their hands in it. Could you not touch my food, please?
I don't know what I like to picture more. Daniel Jones fumbling a spaghetti squash while trying to put it into my bag, or the spaghetti squash at a sex party and Vasilis reaching over someone to spoon some into his plate.
I mean, you couldn't rule out him doing both simultaneously.
Wait, what?
Wait, Daniel Jones and Vasilis doing it at the same time? Or do you mean Daniel Jones at a sex party fumbling food?
Rumor has it he attends cheap sex parties in Paris, so in the off season.
See, now that isn't a chess move because no one knows who Daniel Jones is to begin with. So people might believe that.
He might have been there. I mean, he got in trouble, right, for going to a restaurant in the and breaking COVID protocols, so wouldn't surprise me if he was also attending a sex party. Not to start a rumor, I'm just saying we can't say for sure that Daniel Jones didn't attend a sex party.
That sounded like a real Trump way of saying that. Like, I'm not starting a rumor, but this is what I'm saying.
It's very hard to disprove something that's not right, so I'm just going to throw that out there.
Who would eat more at that sex party, Daniel Jones or Vasilis?
Vasilis.
Are we talking about dicks or?
We're talking about non-glutinous foods.
Oh,
Is it
So,
dick?
yes,
Sorry,
dicks.
I didn't realize.
Vasilis, it wouldn't be close.
Daniel Jones is big. He's like 6'5", isn't he?
It wouldn't be close. I would take Vasilis in an eating contest against most people when it came to marathon eating. I don't want him in a speed eating contest. That's not his thing. But over a long period of time, he would literally just eat himself until he burst. So
That would be incredible to see in like the corner of Bugsy's, just him eating and then you just see splat everywhere. It would be gross. What would be his food of choice though? He's only allowed one food, but he is allowed like
Chicken.
marathon eating.
Chicken, yeah, maybe
Is it
chicken.
whole chickens? Like
yeah,
Yeah. Does he eat chicken wings, Eddie?
yeah. But not as
should do
much
it-
as you'd expect.
I was going to say, we should do a chicken wing eating contest.
I did see him eat chicken wings a couple of weeks ago. He ate his chicken wings at the Canadian Embassy, no problem.
Actually, considering the fact that you think you can also eat like 100 chicken wings, we should
Be a good
definitely
one.
have a chicken wing challenge.
yeah, could be a
No,
good
Vasilis
podcast.
would beat me.
Vasilis would beat you. So Vasilis would have to eat over 100 chicken wings, you're saying?
Yeah, but I said I could eat over 100 in 12 hours, right?
Yeah, but you said marathon eating.
Yeah, no, Vasilis would crush me. I think Vasilis. I honestly, if I think we set Vasilis the goal of 500 in 12 hours, and there was like something for him to get out of it, I think he could do it. He would shit himself, but
What a trooper. He wouldn't even leave the table.
and this is no. See, that's the other thing. You'd have to give him the allowance, not puking, but you'd have to give him the allowance to like go to the bathroom, lie on the floor naked. Like all the things he needs to be able to do to keep going. If you actually made him sit there and sort of abide by normal competitive eating contest rules, he wouldn't be good. But if it was literally just like lead your normal life, but you can't throw up, but you get to eat as much as you want in this 12-hour span, he would be. If this was like Game of Thrones and I had to nominate my like the person to defend me,
Fight for you.
exactly, it's Vasilis.
Yeah, we should. Now you definitely need to visit. We can go to Buffalo Wild Wings and we can
That
try
being
it out.
said, I could also, I don't know Game of Thrones well enough, right? But he could also be like that cocky Spanish dude who spun around and then got killed by the mountain. That could be the Vasilis move.
And
No,
that's
that
who.
guy's-
What, where he
Yeah,
got
he-
his eyes popped in?
Exactly.
It was the Viper, and he was nominated to do it, Eddie.
I know he was.
Yeah.
That's why I said. And what I mean is I could see Vasilis getting really cocky and being really far ahead and then doing the same thing where he's like poking chicken wings at the guy he's fighting against and be like, just say it. Admit that you did it. Like going over the same thing. And then eventually just being like, oh, and then just throwing up everywhere as the guy eats his final wing.
No, in that situation, who's the mountain? Is it you? Are you the mountain who then
No.
bursts his eyes?
I would burst his eyes after he lost. Who would be the mountain? I don't know. I don't think we know a mountain from an eating perspective.
All right. I mean, finishing off this Chargers Raiders game, I'm not so sure. It's Raiders look good against the Browns. It wasn't Herbert's fault that they blew this 21-point lead. Who
It
I
kind of
think is-
was.
I
They
don't
still
know.
blew
I
it.
just think, yeah, they still blew it. I don't think it was.
They
him.
still blew it, but we always give quarterbacks or like offensive players a pass a lot of the time. But like fundamentally, you don't blow leads if your offense continues to execute.
I don't know.
Well, if
if
you
you
just call
believe
running,
it.
if you just call running plays all game, then it's not his fault. Lay off him, all right, Eddie?
Yeah.
God,
Jesus
what the hell's your problem
I
with him?
I just think the Chargers are ever so slightly better. Just literally 1 point better, basically. I would take the Chargers. There's a bit more gut in it than
That's
rationale.
very precise. If that's the case, you should take the push. And I'll tell you this: if you take the push and it wins, you just win the year. We'll end this, and you have won the year.
If I take the one push,
Yeah, but you have to specifically say the 1 point push here. You do not win if the Chargers win by 2 points.
it's such a difficult one because if it goes to overtime, it's all over.
Hey, the Broncos won 31-30 against them last week, right?
I would. No. I'm not. I'm going to be chicken here. I'm not taking it. I think, considering you went the other way, I feel like this may be an opportunity to get something back. So I think I'm going to play it safe.
All right. Yeah, I mean, they give up leads every week. So I can't pick a team that just keeps doing this week after week. The stat I did find is Vegas is 3-1 straight up on the road. And they have the better record. So, I mean, I'll take a team with a better record who does well on the road to win.
I love that you said you can't back teams that blow leads, yet you keep backing the Falcons.
No, I think it's more interesting that he can't back teams that blow leads, but he can back a team that never has one. In the case of the Texans, I won't back that team that was up 20 and lost by 2. I want to back the team that just lost by 30. They're much more reliable.
All right, next up is Dolphins at the Cardinals. Cardinals are 4.5-point favorites.
I'm throwing any analytics or any opinions that I have about either of these two teams completely out the window, and I'm just going to say I want the Dolphins to win. I'm taking them as a pick just because I want Frank to suffer. I want the Tua hatred to be. I want the flames to be 10 foot high by the end of this game, just fueled by the kind of vitriol that will be pouring off of Frank's body during this game. So 100%, there's no logic. There's no reason behind it. I'm not suggesting that anyone follow my pick on this because the only reason I'm doing it is so that I can say I told you so on Monday when Tua throws for 84 yards in a Dolphins victory, but I get to say that he was really great.
I mean, in fairness, he only threw for 94 in the Rams victory?
Yeah, no, he was not impressive. I mean, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that he wasn't impressive. It's just that Jared Goff literally kept handing the balls to Dolphins players. So there was nothing Tua could really do.
Yeah. I looked at those stats. Dolphins only posted like 145 offensive yards. They averaged 3 yards a play, and they had 48 plays. And they go and beat the Rams, where Goff posted stats like 350 yards. It was crazy. But the thing is, like, if the Cardinals' rushing game is going, then they can compete. And I actually think this is a really easy one for me. I'm taking the Cards on this one. I think it's a really simple game, to be honest. I thought it was one of the easier picks when I saw it, but yeah, I'm going.
You can think
Cardinals.
that, but you don't underestimate the magic of a Hawaiian. You know, many people have made that mistake, and you don't want to fall into that category.
I like the magic of a Hawaiian.
Name another person who's made that mistake.
Well, James Cook.
What?
The explorer who got eaten by Hawaiians.
Is that how far you have to go back?
I think his first name was Cook, but anyway, Captain Cook. I'll just stick with Captain Cook. And
that's quite ironic considering he got eaten.
Captain Uncooked.
Yeah, Captain eaten raw. All right, Frank.
My turn. There is no way in hell I would pick the Dolphins in this game. Solely because Eddie is going against me. So I have to stick to my guns.
The content we're providing for people here, so much just deep analytics here. I'm going to pick them because Frank's going to hate it. Then, I'm going to pick them because Eddie hates it. Wow.
Yeah, it's a hilarious moment when I'm the one posting up some sort of like stats or opinion on it.
Okay. The Dolphins did hand the Rams a pretty epic defeat, but the Rams still outgained them by 250 yards. And that was with Goff looking like shit. Murray, I could argue right now, is a better quarterback than Goff is right now. Not career-wise, but right at this moment, I think Murray is a much bigger threat because he can run the ball, he can throw the ball, he has better receivers right now in Hopkins. I think the Dolphins surprisingly have a very statistically point-wise a good defense. They're letting up under 20 a game. But I think the Cardinals will come out here and put up at least 25-30 against this team. Tua is going to be on the ground often, and he's not going to be able to just throw for 40 yards and have 7 passes and win a game. He's going to have to step up to win this game, and I do not see him stepping up to win this game.
You just better hope that during their time in Arizona, the Dolphins do not take a quick trip to Lake Havasu, in which case Tua will see London Bridge, and he will be fueled by the fire of his ancestors and just absolutely dismantle this team.
That is quite a specific reference joke right there.
It's actually a pretty incredible link.
Yeah.
Like, no, fair play. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
You got sold so short with that London Bridge.
I mean, look, just throwing in some history facts for all of our fans out there.
I'll give you a history fact. Do you know who beat Tua in the Heisman in 2018?
Cook.
I mean, Murray.
Oh, yeah. Get ready.
If they were both playing on the same teams that they were playing for in college, I might think differently about this game.
I don't know what that means.
As in, if this was Alabama against Texas Tech, right?
Nope.
I might feel. No? Where did Murray play? Texas.
Oklahoma.
Oh, he played at Oklahoma?
It was
who am I
Post
thinking
Baker.
of? Oh, who am I thinking of at Texas Tech? Am I just thinking of...
Mahomes went to Texas Tech.
Yeah, true. Plus, I'm thinking of the head coach, too.
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury was the Texas Tech head coach, right?
Yes. Losing record. All you have to do is have a losing record in college. You can be a pro coach with a nice house in Scottsdale.
All right, next up, Steelers at the Cowboys. And the Steelers are 14-point favorites.
I'm going to take this one real quick because I just want to put it out there. The Steelers are my survivor pick, and I texted my survivor pick to my father, and he responded, "You're taking the Steelers? You hate the Steelers." So this is not going to go well. Everyone knows how much I have been against them. So this is going to be their chance to bend me over and Scarlett Johansson me at a sex party in Paris.
I mean, can you name either of the because they've benched Ben DiNucci. Can you tell me either of the quarterbacks who are...
It's Cooper Rush and the other guy. Garrett Gilbert. Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah.
Gary Gilbert.
Garrett.
Garrett.
I was like Gary. I was like, that's the blandest name. That is
Gary Gilbert sounds like a professional darts player.
Here's Sam Jones again, mocking more people's names.
I like it. His name, he thinks his name is like Tua Valoga. You know, like this is what he hears when he says
it's
Sam
like
Jones.
the kind of British, the British equivalent.
Oh, Samuel Jones. I'm so exotic. Not a great sign, having just asked you who the starting quarterbacks were, that CeeDee Lamb struggled to say Cooper Rush's name during an interview when being asked about it this week. Not great when you have one of your wide receivers being unsure of who might be under center for you that week. So you have to assume DiNucci looked so bad in the game on Sunday night. You have to assume that anyone almost would be an upgrade. So that makes me a little bit cautious in a way, because it's a fairly large spread. But I'm taking the Steelers to win. I'm kind of tempted to take the Cowboys plus 14, but I'm just not going to do it to myself. I'm going to take the team to cover the big spread when I think they are significantly better.
Frank, I assume you're taking the spread.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. This is like one of those things, you keep betting against the Jets until they prove you wrong. You keep betting against a quarterback named Cooper Rush until he proves you wrong.
Here's the thing, right, is against the spread, you should have won if you'd bet on the Cowboys on Sunday night against the Eagles. The Eagles should not have covered that spread. They just got that very fluky defensive touchdown, which shouldn't have stood as a touchdown. I say this like I wanted it to stand as a touchdown, but it should not have stood. The player on the ground clearly had possession of the ball at the time he was touched. Like the fact that it then got ripped from his hands and then they allowed it to play to continue was kind of crazy. And if it had been on the other end of that decision, I would have been absolutely furious. So there's part of you, in a way you would say, but then at the same time, the Steelers are significantly better than the Eagles. So on that basis, you still have to like them.
Cowboys are 0-8 against the spread this year as well. I think it's like one of the worst, or maybe not only teams, but it's certainly one of the few that has gone 0-8.
That's the concerning thing too, is that no team goes 0-16 against the spread. It's just not going to happen. So there's that moment when Vegas, and by that I mean bookmakers and not the football team, is going to be pricing the Cowboys' opponents out of the game with how high the spread is going to get. And 14 might be approaching it, but yeah, until proven wrong, it's hard to pick this Cowboys team.
I mean, they've been outscored 86-22 in their last 3 games, and that's against Philadelphia, the Washington football team, and Arizona. So not the greatest of opponents.
Their defense
and now you have an opponent like the Steelers coming in.
Their defense, and now admittedly they're getting some players back defensively, right? Like in the Sunday night game, they had a couple key players back, so they're not going to be as bad over the next few weeks as they were for a period there. But yeah, you've got to assume the Steelers are going to move the ball pretty easily against them.
All right. Battle of the QBs, Saints of the Buccaneers, and the Bucs are 4-point favorites. Frank?
Well, has there ever been, Frank, you can answer this question, has there ever been a bigger game in the history of the NFL? I mean, for 2 quarterbacks to be competing for such a prestigious record in the same game against each other, and for the possibility that it's going to change hand multiple times, this to me is bigger than every Super Bowl combined.
What do they say in dodgeball? It's like bigger than the World Cup, the World Series, and World War II put together.
Exactly.
F&A, Cotton. F&A.
And a rough week for both of these quarterbacks, right? In a way, okay, they're chasing this record. Their teams are both looking playoff bound. They're looking at the prospect of playing one of their rivals from the last, 15 years. A huge divisional game too. This game has a lot of repercussions for this future of both of these teams. But then at the same time, they are both noted Trump supporters. So probably a little bit of, both suffering a little bit coming into this one.
So for that reason, you're going with the Bucs, Eddie?
I'm going to take the Bucs because I think Drew Brees looks terrible, like slightly above corpse level in his quarterback play. And
would you say frail?
No, frail would be kind.
Don't be frail to be kind.
Brady is frail.
Dilapidated? Is that a good word for Breeze at the moment? Dilapidated?
Dilapidated would imply that some structure is still remaining. He's not even in that.
No, but he is. He's still like the husk of a human. It's just not much even going on.
No. Okay. No. It's as if you've dug someone's grave, but you've yet to put the body in it. This is the stage his career is at.
They've won 4 straight.
Yeah. They haven't.
But it's not Breeze doing that, though, is it?
So wait, Eddie, real quick. So this is a question that relates to it. What scares you more? The fact that the Saints had to go to overtime to beat the Bears, or the fact that the Bucs had to squeak out a missed 2-point conversion to beat the Giants?
The Saints won because the Bears were just doing nothing on offense at all. And they should have been able to just put up enough points that game shouldn't have been in question. Whereas the Giants offensively were actually pretty good against the Bucs, which is a little bit of a surprise given how good their defense has been this year. But still, you got to give the Giants a little bit of credit for Daniel Jones making some big plays. So in a way, I don't see it as much of a knock on Brady and their offense. Now, it's an issue for their defense, which has probably been the reason why the Bucs have won a lot of games. Like, it actually hasn't been Brady and their weapons.
So for me, Breeze apparently has sat out of practice the last 2 games.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. I might like the Saints then. Yeah,
I think it said it was held back in practice for the 2nd straight day. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think Breeze is as done as Eddie. I don't think you put a fork in him. I don't think he's done yet. But he hasn't looked great. And Brady has looked much better. The thing that scares me about this game is They're two competitive teams. It's a huge divisional game. The Saints won the last one. They're going to leave everything out there on the field. They both need to win this. I think the Bucs will win, but I think it's going to be very close, and I think the Saints will cover.
I'm going with the Bucs and to win this one. I just think it won't be Breeze that wins it for the Saints. If they do, it'll be more the Bucs kind of losing it in a relatively poor performance against the Giants. But I would back Brady to come good in this scenario over Breeze and the Saints. So I'm going to go with the Bucs and to cover. And last but my days not least is the Pats at the Jets. And the Jets are the Jets aren't favorite. What am I on about? The Patriots are 7.5 point favorites. I mean, this is a weird one because when I first saw it, I was almost second guessing myself because obviously over the past 3 or 4 weeks, it's almost been so easy to go against both that when these two came up in the matchup, I paused for a moment and then I kind of realized in what reality am I questioning a Patriots team period against this Jets team? And I still think for me that the Patriots will win and they'll cover the spread. But honestly, the only reason I think it is because surely they have to. I mean, Bill Belichick might actually kill people if they don't. It's a pretty depressing game, to be honest. But the only reason I'm going with the Patriots and to cover is because it would be absolutely criminal if they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I just think this spread actually isn't as high as I expected it to be. I mean, the Patriots are not good, but the Jets are atrocious. So a 7.5 point spread against a historically bad NFL team, even if the Patriots are just mediocre, which I think is about where they are, is a little bit disrespectful to the Patriots. And you also know that it's not like a Bill Belichick team is ever going to go into tank mode or ever going to sort of consider that it's season over, because I'm sure the Patriots are telling themselves that there is still a path to the playoffs for them. And that if they can, I mean, part of them, they'll be telling themselves if the Bills lose this week and if they win and if the Dolphins lose, they're right back in. Sorry?
When the Dolphins lose.
Okay. They will be right back in the hunt for the division. I mean, they wouldn't really be, but they, if you're on that team, that's what you would be telling yourself. So you have to like the Patriots, and you have to think that the Jets aren't going to suddenly start covering sub 10-point spreads.
Yeah, I went stat heavy on this one. So Patriots lost 4 in a row, haven't scored more than 21. Ooh, that makes you nervous. Well, the Jets have lost the last 4 in a row. They haven't scored more than 10 in any of those games. So not so nervous.
I like that. I like that you played a couple characters as you gave those stats. Yeah.
Yeah. The Jets have lost each game this year by at least 8 points. At least. So they have failed to cover yet an 8-point spread. They are 32nd in points scored and 28th in points allowed. That is amazing. I understand that they kind of play off each other a little bit. If your offense is never on the field, then your defense is out there all the time. But to be that bad, to be almost the worst team in both categories is impressive. You cannot go with the Jets until they can cover a spread and start being competitive. I understand the Patriots don't look good, but they do not look anywhere near as bad as the Jets do.
I think that's it. I think we've covered all the games.
Yeah. And it must be said that unlike previous weeks where we haven't had great Premier League football to speak of, this week is a little bit different because there is a huge match this weekend as City are playing Liverpool. So, I mean, it's difficult at the moment to say that this is a sort of in any way a title decider. One, because they're both dropping points all over the place, and two, because other teams are now legitimately in the title race, which maybe, Sam, is where the question before we discuss this match. Do you give Spurs a legitimate chance at winning the title?
No. I just think Spurs will be Spurs, and I just don't think they'll do it. I just think there's too many question marks around that team at the moment. They go and do what they did at Old Trafford, then they go and do what they did at Royal Antwerp. And I just think that, in a way, I think they're going to emulate City on like a slightly worse level, because the City situation is really interesting. Like, I was looking at some of the statistics, and like Guardiola's career, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, City, for a start of a season, so after 6 games, a team has never won fewer games, scored fewer goals, or conceded more goals than the situation at the moment. And I think there's a real problem there at City. But I just think that Spurs also have that ability of winning some games really comfortably and then just absolutely imploding against teams as well. I'm not sure if they have a shot at the league. I would probably actually give like Leicester more of a chance at the moment. I think they're playing more. I think they're playing consistently better.
The bookies definitely disagree with you there.
What do they? So what have the bookies got at the moment? Surely Liverpool are favourites.
City are favourites, 11-8 favourites. So for anyone who sort of isn't familiar with the table off the top of their heads, every team has played 7 matches apart from 2 or 4 actually at this point. But in terms of teams with title hopes, the only one that hasn't played 2 matches is played 7 matches. Is City. I'm maybe being a little bit dismissive of United, who also haven't played 7, but I think we can rule them out of the title race at this point. So you have Liverpool at top with 16, Leicester second with 15, Spurs are third with 14, and then assuming City win their game in hand, they would join them on 14 points. And from the odds, you have City at 11-8, Liverpool at 2-1, and Spurs at 7-1. Now, before you find Leicester at 33-1 to win the title, you go through Chelsea at 10-1, Arsenal at 25-1, and United also 33-1. So they think it is as likely that United, who are currently, say they win their game in hand, 6 points off top, are just as likely to win the title as Leicester are.
Out of all those teams not in the top 2, who's the last one to win a title?
Not in the top 2 from a betting perspective?
Yeah, not Liverpool or City.
Chelsea.
Spurs have never won it. Or last one to win a title, did you say?
Yeah, 2 win. So Chelsea.
Okay. I mean, what about Leicester?
We're going dropping down the full length of the league. I thought you were talking about like Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal. But yeah, okay, Leicester most recently, Chelsea second most recently.
Yeah.
Then Arsenal quite a long time ago. And Spurs before any of us were born.
Yeah, what was Arsenal? There was one after the Invincibles. It was like 04, maybe? 04, 05, I think it was.
Maybe 04, 05, yeah.
Interesting stat about Arsenal is that they've conceded, I think it's 7 goals this season, 7 or 8. I haven't got a stat in front of me, but they've conceded like one of the fewest goals already this season, which is one of their biggest problems. And combine that with the fact that they've gone to Old Trafford, Anfield, and the Etihad, I think that's a pretty impressive record. And I think that shows that Arsenal are definitely on a better curve. Whether it's title winning remains to be seen, because ultimately they lost to Man City, lost to Liverpool, and lost at home to Leicester. But, they broke that hoodoo. They finally beat a Big 6 team away. I mean, Man U are technically a Big 6 team, so let's just call it a win. But there's a lot of positives with Arsenal at the moment.
I think when push comes to shove at the end of the season, obviously my prediction with United finishing in the top 2 as my kind of hot take of the year, that one is dead and buried after 6 matches. That being said, I do think United will still end up finishing in the top 6. I think over the course of the remaining 32 matches, they will just win. People are being hard on them for being terrible, but fundamentally they win their game in hand. They go to 10 points. It puts them, within touching distance of the top 6, top 4 anyway. So it's not like they need some incredible turnaround at this stage. It just doesn't look tremendously likely. And I guess maybe even before we get to the big match, they have an interesting test. They're away to Everton this week. So that will be an interesting litmus test of where they stand.
I mean, if the defending is anything like that first goal in Istanbul, they're generally up for like mid-table. Did you see it?
Yeah.
The goal. I mean, that's borderline pathetic. How you give someone space like that where they've got a one-on-one scenario before the halfway line.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a sense because he's just being tremendously let down by players who are significantly better than the form that they are showing. And everyone can talk about formation and tactics and all that, but fundamentally, you step onto the pitch. I mean, there was the Roy Keane rant at the weekend when he got into his argument with Tim Cahill. I don't know if you saw that from after the Man United match, where Tim Cahill was saying how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, there's no leaders in the United team, and there's also no leadership from the manager, so they're not getting motivated by someone. And Roy Keane took that as just a ridiculous statement because he said you don't need anyone to motivate you beside yourself. And that even when he was a 7-year-old boy playing football, the only person that motivated him was Roy Keane, which in the case of Roy Keane is absolutely true. Undoubtedly, though, Roy Keane motivated other players with his intensity and with his attitude and his approach. But Solskjaer is being let down. The only criticism I would have is that he constantly chops and changes, and he really reacts to whatever the last result was. So, they'll play the champion in their opening 2 Champions League matches. He kind of puts some fringe players in. They play well. Now they're starting at the weekend. They play badly. Now they're back out of the team. And so you have to, if he's going to keep his job, he needs to pick an 11 that he's comfortable with. And if he sinks with that 11, then he sinks. But this idea that if he puts Matic in one week and Matic doesn't play well, then Pogba's coming in for Matic the next week. And then if Pogba doesn't play well, then Van der Beek's coming in the next week. You have to have some approach where players can get a little bit of form and consistency.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that one. But the Everton game will be tough for them, like really tough. I don't think it's at Goodison Park, right? I can't remember, but
yeah, it's at Goodison.
That's one of the ones where like the crowd matters. Like they do get fired up for that kind of game, and Everton are going to lose a bit of that intensity, especially with like a Man U game, because Man U have been on the end of some thumpings there over the past like 3 or 4, 5 years. But I don't know who I'd go with that one. I'd probably fancy Everton at the moment. I just think after seeing that kind of game in Istanbul, how bad they looked in the Chelsea game. Granted, Chelsea looked bad as well, but also how simple it looked for Arsenal. Arsenal didn't look that great, but it just looked easier and better for Arsenal to create the kind of passing setups that they did. I think it would be really tough to back a team that a couple of weeks ago beat PSG. It's a strange thing, but yeah, I don't know what it is with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and PSG, but it seems to like breathe life into his career. It's such a strange thing, but yeah, for me, I'd go Everton in that game.
Today I was watching because on my YouTube suggested like recommended plays, I often get the Sky Sports Retro pops up, and they do a good job with that, where they just put a random video, and it was after some United win. It was Sir Alex Ferguson speaking after United win. And he was talking about the youngsters coming through. And now in amongst those youngsters, it was when De Gea had just started playing for United. So he was impressed with De Gea's performance. But then he also really impressed with Phil Jones, who he said had the potential to be the best young player they'd ever had, which obviously has not come true.
Completely transpired.
I did like the comment, the top comment on the video was, well, Ferguson was obviously right. Just look at the stats. And then the stat was goals scored against De Gea. And it was Messi 2, Phil Jones 3.
Wasn't there some crazy stat that Solskjaer's opening games at Man U have actually been, his first 100 games, have actually been better than Ferguson's record?
That's a little bit tough though, right? Because when Ferguson took over United, they were not United as we now think of them, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy to me to think that Solskjaer's been there for 100 games. That's the bit. He still, in my mind, almost feels like a relatively new manager.
He still feels like a caretaker for me, because there's always that cloud over him about like, as soon as they go on like 2 or 3 losses, everyone's like, okay, well, we made a mistake bringing him on. Then he goes and usually beats PSG. They're going to start setting up friendlies at some point, just so Man U can beat PSG in the interim. But then everyone's like, oh, faith restored kind of thing, and then they just go back to the repeated problems that plagued the team.
Yeah. And to me, that's probably the biggest indicator of what his status is as manager, is that I think a lot of people probably still think of him as interim, and that's probably the sign that they need to bring someone else in, because he just doesn't have that authority.
Right? It's Pochettino.
You think so?
Yeah.
The only thing that saves Solskjaer, and I don't mean this in a way that this is their goal, but because he has so many ex-teammates who clearly like him in the media, that even though they are critical of him, they are certainly not as critical of him as they might be of other people. And I think that saves him a little bit, because almost every program you watch, every post-match breakdown, everything, you've either got Gary Neville there, or Roy Keane there, or occasionally Paul Scholes, or whoever it is, Rio Ferdinand, someone. And I think it just saves him a little bit that there's people there who like him, really saying things about him.
Yeah. So, I mean, this Man City Liverpool game, I guess we'll go on to our bets of the week soon, but Liverpool, I would like to take Liverpool away win, but obviously thinking money wise, like double chance Liverpool draw, I think is great value here, because like I said, there's something not right with Man City at the moment. Defensively look a bit odd, but also the things that have made them fire so well recently in terms of like their attacking lineup aren't firing either. And when you compare it with Liverpool, like if we just ignore the anomaly of that Villa game, they still have the fundamental components that are making them look good as they were last year. So really good fullbacks, the top three look really good, but Diego Jota looks like an incredible signing. So much so that you'd almost semi-consider Firmino's position with him now. But I just think that Liverpool still have the components, even if they're a little bit worse without Van Dijk, they still have all the components that made them so good last year. Whereas I'm just not sure about City at the moment. Like I can't see City winning this, which is a really strange one to say, but it's not going to be one of those games where the home crowd can get fired up. Liverpool are going to be able to play their own game, and we'll obviously go on to bets of the week, but the Liverpool double chance at the moment is 4-5, or you can take them for winning at about 11-5. I wouldn't bet against anyone that wants to take him at 11-5, but I think 4-5 for 2 of 3 of the opportunities is a really good bet here. Don't know what you think.
I think the logic behind everything that you've just said is very sound. But then I just have an inkling that City are going to win. So, and there's no real reason to that, apart from the fact that I think that Liverpool are really going to miss Van Dijk. And I think with the movement that City have up front, it's going to be difficult for them. And obviously they are firing on all cylinders going forward. But I think this is going to be the first time that they really face a serious defensive test since Van Dijk has been out. And so until I see that they can stand up to that kind of opposition without Van Dijk, I am not willing to bet on them to pick up a result. So for that reason, I'm going to stick with City. I'm not going to bet on the game. I'm going to stay away from it, but it will be a very enjoyable match to watch. That's for sure. I mean, the safe bet is probably over 1.5 goals, over 2.5 goals. That kind of seems like fairly certain, because both of these teams, I mean, not recently really City apart from in Europe, but both of these teams can score goals for fun and might have some defensive frailties. So
can
that would
concede
probably
for fun as well, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but we'll have to see. But a match I'm really looking forward to.
It's going to be good, but I looked at the table, and the reason I would actually go with what you're saying is, you know, I can wheel off all these positions about like Liverpool looking like this, but ultimately, if Man City don't win this, they're already 9 points behind Liverpool. So it's one of those games where like Man City actually have to do something very early on, not to save their season, but very much to keep any sort of shred of comeback possible going. And so that's one reason why I'd be a little bit worried about Man City, is ultimately because they have to step up now so soon. I think this game matters more for City than it does for Liverpool, which is odd because obviously they're both title chasing teams. But I think even at this early stage, not losing matters more for Liverpool, if that makes sense. Like City have to win this game, in my opinion. So yeah,
I think it definitely matters more for City. A, because they're behind, so you don't want that gap to grow. But B, I think they need to convince themselves that they can beat this Liverpool team. And I think for their confidence, if they lose to a Van Dijkless Liverpool, I think mentally after losing the title by so much last season, it will be difficult for them to get themselves in a sort of mental state where they are confident that they are going to close the gap on Liverpool and be able to beat them next time round and kind of do all those things. So I think from that perspective, just how they feel going forward, it's very important.
But in that sense, then, doesn't that scare you a little that they might kind of pull that City move where they press too much and too hard and try and force things instead of just letting it come naturally? And then before you know it, it's the 75th minute and, they haven't put one in yet.
It's possible. Yeah. And look, I would love to know who will be starting up front for them because obviously you have to assume that Gabriel Jesus isn't fit enough to start. I know he played sort of 10, 15 minutes against Olympiacos, right? But that would be one thing I'd like to know. Because if it is just some combination of tiny midfielders making up their front three, I won't feel quite as confident about their chances. But no, I think you just have to back them that they'll get the job done when they need to, even if recent history shows that isn't the case.
Speaking of bet of the week, should we write them down? What have you guys got for me?
Well, first, I think I need to give you the breakdown of where you stand, so you know how much you can afford to bet. We all lost.
Just skip it and just.
We all lost this weekend. So, I was killed. I rolled my positive sum on the Bills and the Titans. Obviously, the Titans, just like in real life, massively let me down. So I'm right back to where I started from. I'm back at 100,000. Sam, you had the Bills -4. That was a loser. You had a Steelers game under 46.5. So you lost your 10,000. And Frank, you had two bets of the week, both for 20,000. And neither one of them came close to winning. You had Pulisic to score in time.
He didn't play. That was close.
The Pulisic Sancho thing is one of the thing is I don't actually mind the anytime bet as much as Eddie hates it, but it is the worst reason why you wouldn't want it is because obviously Pulisic you injured with your curse, but then it's just like Sancho gets subbed out. Sancho just gets subbed out, and that's it. You've lost half of what was it? Subbed off like 50th minute, 55th.
No, 75th.
Oh, 75th.
75th. He got a fair.
He got a fair.
But
he had chances too. He had two good chances.
Well, then you should have won. We'll put it as a semi-winner then. And then your other bet: nice. Eagles, Saints, Titans, Bills, Packers. So a fivefold with two losers is not a great look. So Sam, you're down to 70,000. Frank, you're down to 60,000. So you are getting in a territory where you need to start picking some winners.
All in.
So
perfect.
On that ground, let's hear your winner, Frank.
I'm down to 60,000.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got two.
Oh, good.
Brilliant. That's what I would want to do. Split them.
I want 20,000 on each. First one. Texans with the spread against the Jaguars. What is the current spread?
7 points.
7.
Give it to me.
Okay, so that's 20-21.
Okay. My other bet is Breeders' Cup. Breeders' Cup weekend this weekend, so it's like the last hurrah, I guess, for flat racing. Friday, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Golden Pal is the favorite. He's 7-4 right now on Eddie's Ladbrokes, so I'll stick with that at 7-4. For those who don't remember, he was the one who got nipped at the line by the Learjet in Ascot. It was Wesley Ward's supposed best horse of the weekend to win. He ended up winning with Campanelle later in the week, but he was really high on Golden Pal, got nipped at the line, then came back to the States, ran a really nice race to follow that up, and I think this is just a lock right here. And I'm surprised it's not lower than 7-4. I'm surprised it's not even, because there is not much of another horse in that race that has the type of credentials that he has with a second in Royal Ascot.
So are you locking the 7-4, or do you want to go to SP?
I'll lock the 7-4.
Interesting, right? We didn't really preview the Breeders' Cup at all. Personally, I'm going to stay away from it because I do find it tough to always know. A little bit like when we talked about Champions Weekend at Ascot, it kind of falls into that similar territory for me, where particularly with the foreign horses more than the American horses, I'm just not really sure what condition they're in and how much they would have been. This would have been a real goal, or if it's just sort of end of the season, let's roll the dice and see if we can pick up a nice prize. And worst case scenario, it almost doesn't hurt the reputation of a horse to lose a Breeders' Cup race for that very fact.
Yeah.
My bet is
so real quick, I just want to say one more thing. So Saturday is the main card for Breeders' Cup, and that's where most of the older horses race. But Friday they've now claimed as like the juvenile day, like the young guns day. So the other big horse that's racing that day is Battleground, and Battleground is probably one of my favorite horses this year out of Found. Aidan O'Brien horse. You have Ryan Moore on board, so a guaranteed winner, and that's 5-1. I'm not going to put that as my bet of the week, only because it's got a lot of other decent horses in there with a live shot, but 5-1 on a horse that I think is favorite right now for the 2,000 guineas is not a bad odd to take.
So you're not going to go all in. You've only got 20K left.
No, I'm not going to go all in.
No, that'll be next week.
That'll be next week.
All right, Eddie, you want to put your bet up?
Yeah, I'm going to ask, am I allowed to include the Thursday night game in my bet of the week, even though our listeners cannot take advantage of it?
No. Absolutely not.
No. Wow, harsh.
No, because I had that Europa bet and you wouldn't let me put that in.
Well, that's because it was finished.
And you know what? It won, didn't it?
Yeah, actually, I had like 32 of the games tonight.
Yeah, okay.
In the Europa League.
All right, so I'm not allowed to put the Thursday night game in.
Nope.
Okay, so shall I
you can put next week's Thursday night game in.
Okay. All right, you go then while I reshuffle my bet of the week then, Sam.
Okay, so I'm just doing a little double. So I already mentioned it, that I really like the Liverpool draw double chance, which is 4-5 at the moment. So I'm taking that, and I'm going to combine it with the Cardinals against the spread, so the 4.5, and it pays 2.63 to 1. 2.43 to 1, sorry. So I am going to put 20 grand on it. I think this is the first time I've not taken just a little 10K. So I'm taking 20 grand on it. Put me right back over to 100.
And you're right, Eddie, we didn't mention the Breeders' Cup. We did mention our losses, but we didn't mention that I did say I liked the Joseph O'Brien horses in the Melbourne Cup. And he did have another Melbourne Cup winner at 20-1.
He also had one die.
Well, he didn't have one die. The other, while Eddie's still looking for his bet, the other Breeders' Cup pick that I really like is actually the Turf Classic on Saturday. And you have the Wonder Filly Magical heads the market. But I'm going to go against Magical, and I'm going to go for the horse that had screwed me all year and is now back to redeem itself in Mogul. Mogul is 10-3, like third favorite right now. I think it's pretty decent value for a horse that looked really good in the lead up to the Arc, and unfortunately couldn't race in the Arc. I think it would have had a decent shot to at least place. And Magical at this distance is not very good. I think she's 1 for 5 or 1 for 6 at 1 meter 4. So she's raced in this before and lost to Enable. And I think Mogul's going to nap her at the line. So I'm going to go Mogul in that race as well. I won't put it up as my bet of the week, but that's the one I like for Saturday.
What are you thinking about Tis the Law in the
in the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Yeah, is he going to get back from the disappointment?
This is a really good race because the top four, you have Improbable, Tis the Law, Maximum Security, and Authentic. There's a lot of good form between them. So, for instance, Improbable beat Maximum Security, and then Authentic beat Tis the Law. But then I believe Improbable beat Maximum Security, and then Authentic beat Tis the Law. And then Authentic lost to Swiss Skydiver, who was in the race before. So, it's really close up top. I don't know who would win that. I think Improbable, from what I've heard, because I don't watch the Americans as much, but from what they're saying, because Maximum Security and Improbable and Authentic are all Bob Baffert's. And Baffert said his best chance is Improbable. So I think you kind of have to listen to the trainer, who has 3 out of the 4 favorites. But you're right. Tis the Law could come back, but it didn't look that great in the last race where it lost to Authentic when it was a pretty strong favorite. So,
yeah, it was odds on, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, it lost by over a length too. So,
all right, I have figured out my replacement.
Eddie's back.
Please.
I mean, I got to reshuffle things. I don't want to just throw something in without having put some thought into it. I know how much the listeners need my tips, and that puts food on their table. So my my bet of the week is going to be a 4-fold NFL, pretty straightforward accumulator, which is going to be the Chiefs to win, the Steelers to win, and the Patriots to win. And the 4th team, so I would have loved to have just thrown the Packers in there, and I would have said that was just an incredibly good bet, and I would have been so happy if you had allowed me to do that. But seeing as I am not allowed to do that, the 4th team that I have decided I'm going to put in there, the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to do it to myself again.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah.
Right.
And that returns 1.26.
Oh.
All that for 1.2.
All that just to shit. What's that, like 13 to 10?
It's just 4 games.
You're just sitting. You're just sitting. I know what you're doing. You're just sitting on your higher amount of money and just trying to get that little bit of value up every time, knowing that Frank and I could be bust in 2 weeks.
Well, maybe not you, but Frank is bleeding out at a rapid rate. So yes, I'm not concerned about Frank beating me in this particular contest.
So what are you doing, 50 G's?
No, I'm going to be sensible. 15,000.
Jesus,
what a wimp!
I know.
What a wimpy bet and a wimpy wager.
I've never seen more pathetic gambling in my life.
Well, do you know the thing that would have been a bit bolder that I was tempted to take? And we do not really talk about college football, even though I know Frank would love to. I was tempted to take Notre Dame to beat Clemson on Saturday. But I decided...
That's risky.
I decided it was too risky. But you want my... Should I throw in a Breeders' Cup pick just to make you satisfied?
Yeah, what do you got, Breeders' Cup? I will say, before you give us the pick, in the Breeders' Cup Sprint towards the end of Saturday, there is a horse called Frank's Rocket that's racing, and it's 10-1, won its last 4 races over this distance almost, too. I think they're all almost over 6 furlong. So there is no chance in hell I'm not throwing some money on Frank's Rocket in the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
All right, I'm going to give you an each-way tip for the Breeders' Cup as my selection, and that is going to be for the Breeders' Cup Mile, and my tip is going to be Safe Voyage, currently trading at around 10-1. So I think that's a solid. You'll still get nice value at each way. You'll still make a bit of money even if it just places. So that would be mine. Part of me, my heart wants to say Siskin in that race.
Yeah, I saw Siskin as well.
But I think Siskin
is that still racing? Is that still a horse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Siskin officially has evolved or devolved from a horse into a donkey, so I cannot.
I thought you were going to say Circus Maximus in that one as your each way at 12-1.
Not bad, actually, because as we always say, or at least as I always say, limited horse, but it does run its race. So you do know it will be there or thereabouts at the finish.
Kamiko actually looks like a really good bet. I was just looking at the draw bias, and apparently low draw really matters for kind of Keeneland and for the mile as well. So the fact that Kamiko is drawn at 2 probably matters. So it seems like pretty good value.
Actually. I mean, it's a pretty good race, actually, because you have Uni, who won this last year. So you have the defending champ, who's second favorite. You have Kamiko, who's favorite, who is coming off a win in Group 2, but still a win, back down to a mile. So I think it'll be pretty good.
And I would say if I had to pick a winner in the Breeders' Cup Turf, I know that you opted for Mogul and discussed Magical, but I would actually take Weld's horse, Tarnawa, at between 3-1 and 4-1, depending on where you're looking. I think there's more value there, and particularly if it got to 4-1. If you can get it at 4-1, I would take it each way.
All right, so with that, we'll end it there and see what these bets look like and see how much I'll be up on all of you in our bet of the week. So talk to you later, boys.
See ya.
Here we are.